Well, thanks for joining me here on the first hole of the Heritage Golf Course at the London Club. Now, lots of you have been in contact, and still the old perennial problem of topping the ball causes a great deal of trouble to golfers. Most top shots are hit by trying to scoop the ball up or something going on, and the weight stays on the right hand side for right-handers. But occasionally it comes the other way, which I'll show you in just a second. So let me just show you one of the classics that happen. People start off quite a good setup, then they swing away back and their weight moves in the wrong direction. So their weight moves further onto the left side, so they're hanging over their left knee. Now, of course, I'm completely in my own way, and in here says, "Hey up son, this doesn't work." So of course, now it makes me come backwards. So of course, we get weight going back, all hanging over the wrong knee. Look out, I've got to try and get the ball up. So as I start down, I come falling back to the right. The club bottoms out. Occasionally we might even touch the ground behind the ball, but the club bottoms out about a foot behind the golf ball, and I just tickle it on the way up, maybe even miss it altogether. What we call a reverse pivot. So that's one. Somebody said to you before you start, for God's sake, watch the ball, keep your head down. And of course, we try and keep the head down, and we end up with chicken wing elbows, head staying down, and of course I can't extend through, so again the club bottoms out just before we get to the ball and it's on its way up, what we call the chicken wing. So those are two that tend to leave the weight back, but occasionally we'll get topping where people make a good backswing, their weight's in the right place, but then the sequence as to how they start down is wrong. So they tend to start the downswing with their upper body, and the upper body then spins round and the club is thrown outside the line and comes down too steeply, and whack, it's like taking the top off a boiled egg. Let's help the poor old reverse pivoters first of all. And a little drill that helps you to initiate the correct takeaway and start the weight moving. If you just set up but put the golf ball, instead of in its normal place in front of the club head, put it on the back of the club head, and what we're trying to do is to just push the ball smoothly away, keeping the club head low. So it helps to start the swing from the left shoulder, then in response to that the hips can turn, and by keeping the club low to the ground, pushing the ball away, it'll get your weight moving onto the right side rather than that terrible hanging over the left knee. So perfectly normal setup, and all I'm trying to do is nice smooth takeaway and just push the ball back about a yard or so. So again, we push the ball away, but as I continue the turn, what I'm trying to do is to put my left armpit, left shoulder, if you have a logo on your sweater, we'd like this to turn across and come above your right thigh. So away we go, still keeping the club low, pushing the ball away, and I can then continue the turn so that I've got my left shoulder, left armpit over the inside of my right thigh. Once I've got to that position, I can now look behind me very, very easily to see behind. Here's a little bit of help for those of you that struggle from the top of the backswing with the sequencing, where we top having given the wrong start down with the shoulders rather than the hips. And to promote a better approach, as you can see, I've put 3 T-pegs here in the ground, and I'm going to put a pencil in just a second. The first one represents where the ball would be, and then a couple of inches in front of that, second tee, just sticking up a fraction higher, again a couple of inches on more, third tee sticking up a bit higher, and lastly my good old pencil goes in. What I'm going to try and do is set up to this first tee and make my swing. We know we're good to the top of the backswing, but what I'm trying to do then is to come down and just try and sweep all 4 of these away. From the back of the first tee to the pencil is about a school ruler's distance. 12 inches, 30 centimetres. You're not going to be able to keep the club lower than that. And all I'm trying to do is just brush the tees, and that should then help me. If I can brush the tees away, it's going to help me to start down by moving my weight, pulling the club down here and swinging the club through, rather than having a great heave and chop with my shoulders this way. So all I'm trying to do is make a balanced swing and tickle the tops of my targets. And you can see we've brushed them. First one was in very low, so it didn't pop out, pushed it in well, but you could see the others came out pencil's flown miles down the fairway. I wish I could get that straightness with some of my long shots, but that's just a little drill for you. Put some tees in, try and sweep them away. It'll help you move your weight better, longer and straighter shots.